The massive view screen in Times Square flickered to life, replacing the usual advertisements with an alien broadcast. Similar screens activated across Earth. In Tokyo, London, Moscow, Beijing, every major city found their displays hijacked by an unknown signal. Ambassador Chun Wei stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall, watching as delegates scrambled to understand what was happening. The screen showed a vast chamber made of gleaming crystal, with beings that looked vaguely humanoid but stood 9 feet tall with elongated limbs and skin that shimmered like oil on water. Primitive species of Earth, the alien spoke, its voice translated into every human language simultaneously. I am Executor Vexenaar of the Galactic Empire. Your world has been observed, measured, and found inadequate. Chun Wei felt ice in her veins. First contact. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, but not like this. Not with these words. The alien continued, its 3 eyes focusing on something off-screen. You have contaminated your planet. You wage wars among yourselves. You have barely mastered fusion power, while civilized species harness the energy of stars. The Galactic Council has decided Earth represents a future threat that must be managed. Behind Vexenaar, a holographic display showed Earth from space. Beautiful, blue, fragile. However, the executor said, the Empire is not without mercy. We offer you terms. Surrender your weapons, submit to Empire rule, and accept our guidance. You will be permitted to live as a client species, protected and educated by your betters. You have 1 solar rotation to respond. The transmission seemed ready to end when another alien rushed into view, speaking rapidly in their language. Vexenaar's expression, if it could be called that, shifted. The translator kicked in mid-conversation. Escaped humans from a mining colony. Governor Thexal demands immediate. Vexenaar silenced the messenger with a gesture and turned back to the camera. It seems a demonstration is required. Your colonists on Kepler 442b have proven difficult. They have refused to accept their new status as workers for the Empire. Such defiance cannot be tolerated. The screen split. One half showed Vexenaar, the other displayed a rocky planet under an orange sun. Chun Wei recognized it immediately. New Haven, humanity's first successful colony outside the solar system. 70,000 people live there. Farmers, scientists, families who traveled 20 years in cryo-sleep to build a new life. Watch carefully, Earth, Vexenaar said. This is the price of defiance. The view shifted to show massive ships hovering over the colony's biodomes. They were beautiful in a terrible way, crystalline structures that caught and reflected the alien sunlight. Weapons ports began to glow. Chun Wei grabbed her phone, trying to call anyone who might help, but she knew it was pointless. New Haven was 1,200 light-years away. Whatever was about to happen had already happened 12 centuries ago. They were watching ancient history unfold. On the screen, colonists ran through the streets of New Haven. Parents carrying children. Scientists abandoning their labs. Farmers fleeing their fields. The camera. Somehow the aliens had cameras everywhere. Focus on a young girl, maybe 7 years old, clutching a stuffed rabbit as her mother pulled her along. Please, someone in the UN assembly whispered. Please don't. The first beam struck the primary biodome. The reinforced structure, designed to withstand meteor strikes and radiation storms, vaporized instantly. Atmosphere rushed out into the thin Kepler air. The cameras kept rolling, showing everything in horrific detail. Chun Wei wanted to look away, but forced herself to watch. Someone had to witness this. Someone had to remember. The attack was methodical, surgical. The aliens targeted life support first, then communication arrays, then the fusion reactors. They saved the residential areas for last, letting the colonists understand what was coming, letting them run even though there was nowhere to go. 70,000 humans. Vexenaar narrated like a teacher giving a lesson. Scientists were told. Explorers. The best your species had to offer. Watch as they learn the truth. You are insects before the Empire. Your technology is toys. Your courage is meaningless. The young girl with the rabbit appeared on screen again. She stood in an airlock with dozens of others, the inner door sealed, the outer door the only thing between them and the hostile atmosphere. Her mother held her close, whispering something the cameras couldn't pick up. Then the outer door opened. In the UN assembly, someone screamed. Others wept. Chun-Wei stood perfectly still, memorizing every moment. The systematic slaughter continued for 20 minutes. The aliens broadcasted every second, switching between cameras to ensure Earth saw it all. The colony's defenders, security officers with projectile weapons designed for dealing with dangerous wildlife, didn't even scratch the alien ships. Finally, mercifully, it ended. Where New Haven once stood, only cooling glass remained. 70,000 voices silenced. This was a minor colonial enforcement action, Vexenaar said, reappearing on the screen. A single Empire patrol vessel dealt with your entire colony in minutes. We have thousands of such vessels, millions of warriors, weapons that could crack your Earth like an egg. The executor leaned forward. But we are civilized. We offer you a choice. Surrender and live as servants, or resist and face the fate of New Haven. You have 23 hours to decide. We will be monitoring your communications. Do not test us. The transmission ended. Regular programming didn't resume. How could it? Every screen on Earth showed the same message: surrender or face extinction. 23 hours and counting. In the UN assembly, chaos erupted. Ambassadors shouted in dozens of languages. Some called for immediate surrender. Others demanded resistance. Chun-Wei remained silent, her mind racing. Her phone buzzed. A message from her daughter in Shanghai. "Mom, I saw. What do we do?" What indeed? Surrender meant slavery for billions. Resistance meant death. The math was simple and terrible. Another message, this one from General Harrison at the Pentagon. Emergency session. 1 hour. Be there. Chun-Wei looked around the assembly one more time. In 23 hours, Earth would have to give an answer. But which answer could they live with? As she left the building, she noticed something strange. The streets of New York weren't filled with panic as she'd expected. People stood in quiet groups, watching the countdown on their phones. Some wept for New Haven, but others looked angry. A cold, determined fury that reminded Chun-Wei of something her grandfather once said about the war. Push humans far enough, and they don't break. They bite. She thought about the colonists of New Haven. 70,000 pioneers who'd traveled further than any humans before them. They'd refused to be slaves, knowing the cost. Maybe Earth's answer wasn't as complicated as she'd thought. Her phone rang. President Martinez. Ambassador Chun, I need you in Washington immediately. We're assembling the response team. What kind of response, Madam President? A pause. Then, the kind that reminds the universe that humans didn't crawl out of the caves and reach for the stars just to kneel before the first bully we meet. New Haven didn't die for nothing. Chun-Wei felt something shift in her chest. Fear transformed into something else. Something harder. I'll be there in 2 hours, Madam President. Good. And Chun, start thinking about how we fight back. Because I'll be damned if Earth surrenders to anyone. The countdown continued. 22 hours, 47 minutes. On screens across the planet, the message flickered. For just a moment, barely noticeable, text appeared beneath the alien ultimatum. Remember New Haven. Nobody knew who added it. But within minutes, it became a rallying cry. Social media exploded. Hashtag Remember New Haven trending worldwide. Videos of the massacre spread, but so did something else. Images of human achievement. The moon landing. The Mars colonies. The generation ships heading for distant stars. Humans had always been explorers, pioneers, fighters. In a small bar in Detroit, a group of Marines watched the countdown. Staff Sergeant Maria Rodriguez had seen combat in 3 countries, but nothing like this. Alien monsters who murder children and called it a lesson. What do you think, Staff Sergeant? Private Johnson asked. We gonna surrender? Rodriguez took a long drink of her beer. You see that little girl with the rabbit? Yeah. My daughter has the same toy. Same age, too. She set down her glass with a sharp click. Those aliens want to make slaves of our kids. They killed 70,000 people to make a point. So what do we do? Rodriguez smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. We make a point of our own. Earth doesn't kneel. Earth fights. And if they want to dance, well, she looked around at her Marines. The Corps has been training for impossible fights since 1775. About time we got a real challenge. Similar conversations happen worldwide. In Russian military bases, Chinese naval yards, Indian Air Force stations. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines looked at the countdown and made their choice. Earth might lose. Probably would lose. But New Haven's colonists had shown the way. Better to die free than live as slaves. The countdown ticked on. 22 hours, 30 minutes. In a classified bunker beneath Cheyenne Mountain, generals and admirals gathered around a holographic display. The alien technology was centuries ahead, but humans had one advantage. They'd been killing each other creatively for millennia. They knew war in ways these aliens might not expect. Options? General Harrison asked. Conventional weapons won't scratch their ships, Air Force General Park admitted. But we got other ideas. Asymmetric warfare. Guerrilla tactics. Make Earth too expensive to occupy. The Marines are ready, General Thompson added. Every unit worldwide. If these aliens want Earth, they'll pay for every inch in blood. That's assuming they have blood, someone muttered. Everything bleeds, Thompson replied. You just have to know where to cut. Admiral Reeves brought up casualty projections. The numbers were staggering. Billions might die. But the alternative was eternal slavery for all humanity. There's something else, a young analyst said. The alien mentioned escaped humans from a mining colony. That means some of our people are already fighting. They're not invincible. Harrison nodded slowly. Then we fight. God help us, we fight. Give me a line to Moscow, Beijing, London, Delhi. If humanity's making its last stand, we do it together. 21 hours, 15 minutes. Across Earth, the greatest mobilization in human history began. Not just military, everyone. Scientists shared everything they knew about the aliens. Engineers started retrofitting weapons. Hackers tried to break into the alien communications. Factory workers returned to their posts, ready to build whatever the military needed. In Switzerland, CERN physicists worked frantically on theories about alien shield technology. In Silicon Valley, tech giants opened their research to the military. In universities worldwide, students and professors dropped everything to contribute. Humanity had always been divided by nation, religion, ideology. But faced with extinction or slavery, those divisions suddenly seemed petty. Russian commanders spoke directly with American counterparts. Chinese scientists shared data with European colleagues. The Middle East put aside ancient grudges. Africa, South America, Australia, every continent, every nation, united by a simple truth. Earth was home, and nobody was taking it without a fight. 20 hours. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They'd shown Earth exactly what surrender meant. Not just servitude, but casual slaughter. They'd murdered children on live broadcast and expected humanity to break. Instead, humanity got angry. Really, truly, deeply angry. The kind of anger that had once driven apes from the trees and across continents. The anger that had conquered diseases, split atoms, and reached for the stars. The anger of a species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars, and refused to stop climbing. In her office, President Martinez stood before camera. In a few hours, she'd address the planet. Earth's answer to the Galactic Empire. She thought about the colonists of New Haven, about that little girl with the rabbit. 70,000 humans who'd chosen death over slavery. Their choice would not be wasted. The countdown continued its relentless march. But something had changed. Fear was still there, but it no longer ruled. In its place grew determination, defiance, and a terrible resolve. The Galactic Empire wanted Earth to kneel. They'd murdered innocents to make their point. They'd proven their power and their cruelty. Now it was humanity's turn to respond. And when the countdown reached 0, the Empire would learn why humans had survived everything the universe had thrown at them. They would learn why, In all the vast cosmos, there was no species quite like humanity when cornered. 19 hours, 30 minutes. And counting. The war room beneath the Pentagon hummed with controlled chaos. 18 hours remained on the alien countdown, and humanity's greatest military minds worked against time itself. General Harrison stood before a massive holographic display showing Earth and its orbital defenses pathetically inadequate against what they'd witnessed at New Haven. Status report, Harrison commanded. Colonel Sarah Mitchell stepped forward. Sir, we've established communication with all major military commands. Russia, China, NATO, everyone's on board. Preliminary defense plans are being coordinated. Defense. Marine General Thompson scoffed. We saw what their weapons did. We can't defend against that. Then, we don't, a voice said from the doorway. Admiral Chen Zhao of the Chinese Navy entered, followed by Russian General Volkov and British Air Marshal Davies. The alliance that would have been impossible days ago now stood united. We attack. Harrison raised an eyebrow. With what? Our best weapons are firecrackers compared to theirs. Chen Zhao smiled grimly. With the one thing they don't expect, human insanity. They think we're primitives who'll roll over after a show of force. They don't know our history. Explain. The Chinese admiral activated his own hologram. Stalingrad. Thermopylae. Rorke's Drift. Humans have a long history of fighting impossible odds. We don't win by being stronger. We win by being willing to pay any price for victory. General Volkov nodded. My analysts have been studying the broadcast. These aliens, they fight like Romans, organized, efficient, but predictable. They expect surrender or conventional resistance. They don't expect crazy, General Thompson finished. They don't expect full-scale crazy. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Harrison spoke. You're suggesting we turn Earth into a death trap. Even if we lose, make them pay so dearly they'll think twice about enslaving anyone else. Not just Earth, Chen Zhao said. Everything. Every human ship, station, and colony becomes a weapon. We have 17 hours to turn our entire civilization into history's largest improvised explosive device. Air Marshal Davies pulled up technical specifications. The Newton station in orbit, it's a research facility, but the fusion reactors could be overloaded. Take out anything within 1,000 kilometers when it blows. The Mars colony has mining charges, Volkov added, enough to destabilize Olympus Mons. Any alien ship landing there gets a volcanic welcome. Thompson was already working his tablet. My Marines are trained for asymmetric warfare. Give us weapons that can hurt them, and we'll make their ground forces wish they'd never heard of Earth. That's the trillion-dollar question, Harrison said. How do we hurt them? Their shield stopped everything New Haven threw at them. A young voice spoke from the corner. Not everything. Everyone turned to see Lieutenant Kim Park, barely out of the academy. She flushed under the attention, but continued. The broadcast showed their ships destroying the colony, but look here. She enhanced a section of the footage. When the colonists overloaded their fusion reactor as a last resort, there's a flicker in the alien shields. Just for a second, but it's there. Chen Zhao leaned forward. Energy overload. Their shields are designed for military weapons, not industrial accidents or deliberate industrial catastrophes, Volkov said slowly. Every city has power plants, chemical factories, nuclear facilities. The terrible arithmetic of sacrifice began to form. To have any chance, humanity would have to turn its own infrastructure into weapons. The death toll would be catastrophic even if they won. Harrison's secure phone buzzed. President Martinez. General, I need options in 1 hour. The world is watching. Understood, Madam President. We'll have them. As the world leaders planned, different preparations unfolded across the globe. In Detroit, the same bar where Marines had watched the massacre now served as an impromptu recruiting station. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez had a line of volunteers stretching around the block. I'm too old, a 60-year-old factory worker said. Can you hold a rifle? Rodriguez asked. Held one in Iraq back in '03. Then, you're young enough. Next, similar scenes played out everywhere. Veterans returned to service. Teenagers lied about their age. Office workers traded keyboards for weapons. Humanity mobilized not just its military, but its entire population. In Stockholm, Dr. Eric Johansson led a team of physicists in a desperate project. The aliens used some form of directed energy weapons, he explained to his exhausted team. Traditional armor won't stop it, but perhaps we can disperse it. Mirror shields? Dr. Patel suggested. Reflect their own weapons back. Worth trying. Get every reflective surface we can find. Someone raid the observatory. Those telescope mirrors might save lives. Across the Atlantic, in MIT's labs, Professor Chin worked on a different approach. Their technology is crystalline. Everything we've seen suggests they build with some form of programmable matter. What disrupts crystal structure? Harmonic frequency, a student offered. The right sound wave can shatter crystal. Then, let's give them the universe's worst concert. Every speaker, every sonic weapon, tuned to find their resonance frequency. Maybe we can't break their ships, but we might give their crews the mother of all headaches. 16 hours remained. In orbit, the International Space Station had become a makeshift intelligence center. Astronauts from 6 nations worked together, their unique vantage point providing crucial data. Picking up gravitational anomalies at the edge of the system, Commander Jessica Wright reported. They're already here. Waiting. How many? Ground Control asked. Wright studied her instruments. Can't get exact numbers, but dozens of ships, maybe hundreds. They're not taking chances. The news spread quickly through command channels. The Empire hadn't sent a negotiation team. They'd sent an invasion fleet. Win or lose, this would be decisive. On Earth, the evacuation of major cities had begun. Not everyone could leave, and many chose to stay, but children and essential personnel moved to designated safe zones. The highways filled with vehicles, but without the panic many expected. People helped strangers. Shared supplies. Faced with extinction, humanity rediscovered its compassion alongside its fury. Maria Rodriguez led her Marines through urban combat drills in an abandoned warehouse. The aliens are bigger, stronger, and better armed, she told them. So we fight dirty. Ambushes, traps, psychological warfare. They killed kids to make us afraid. Let's return the favor. Private Johnson raised his hand. Staff Sergeant, how do we even know our weapons will work? Rodriguez held up a modified rifle. The tech boys say kinetic weapons won't penetrate their armor, but they need to breathe something. Toxic gas, biological agents, chemical weapons, everything banned by the Geneva Convention is back on the table. We're not fighting humans anymore. That's dark. That's survival. Those aliens showed no mercy to New Haven. We show none to them. Every dead alien is a human that gets to live. Every ship we destroy is a world they can enslave. We're not just fighting for Earth, we're fighting for every species they might target next. 14 hours. In her secure bunker, President Martinez met with world leaders via encrypted video. The faces on the screen represented every major nation, all political differences set aside. The plan is madness, French President Du Bois said. Turning Earth into a fortress will cost millions of lives, even if we win. And surrender costs billions of lives in slavery, Martinez replied. New Haven showed us what they think of human life. At least this way, we die fighting. Russian President Volkov spoke next. My generals tell me we have perhaps a 20% chance of success. But they also tell me something else. Win or lose will hurt them. Maybe badly enough that the next species they encounter won't face the same ultimatum. The martyr planet, Chinese President Wei said softly. Earth dies to light a fire of rebellion across the galaxy. Maybe, Martinez said, or maybe we surprise them. Humans have a talent for surviving impossible situations. Either way, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. One by one, the world leaders voted. Unanimous. Earth would fight. The announcement went global within minutes. No grand speeches, just simple truth. Earth rejects the Empire's terms. We stand with New Haven. We fight for our freedom. May God help us all. The reaction was immediate. Some wept. Some prayed. But Most did what humans had always done when faced with impossible odds. They got to work. 12 hours. The transformation of Earth accelerated. Every major city became a weapon. Subway tunnels turned into trap networks. Skyscrapers fitted with explosive charges. Parks mined. Stadiums converted to kill zones. Humanity prepared to turn its home into hell for any invader. In Houston, NASA engineers worked frantically on a desperate project. We can't match their technology, Director Thompson explained, but we can use physics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The asteroid redirect mission, someone suggested. It's designed to move near-Earth objects. Redirect it. Every rocket, every thruster. Turn asteroids into kinetic weapons. They might have shields, but can they stop 1,000,000 tons of rock moving at orbital velocity? That violates every space treaty ever signed. Those treaties assumed we'd only fight humans. Get done. 10 hours. Around the world, religious services filled beyond capacity. Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, and others prayed in their own ways for the same thing, strength for the battle ahead. Many found comfort in faith. Others found it in the person next to them, united by shared humanity. In a mosque in Istanbul, an imam spoke to his packed congregation. They killed children. They destroyed families. They mock Allah's creation. Whether we win or lose tomorrow, we stand as witnesses that humanity refused to bow to tyranny. Similar words echoed in churches, temples, and synagogues worldwide. Humanity's diverse beliefs unified in a single truth: freedom was worth dying for. 8 hours. Military forces reached peak readiness. Every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine stood ready. Weapons distributed. Positions fortified. Orders simple. Make them pay for every inch. In the Marine staging area, Rodriguez gathered her unit one last time. Some of you have families, kids. If anyone wants out, now's the time. No shame in it. Nobody moved. All right then. Remember, we're not trying to win a conventional war. We're trying to hurt them so badly they'll remember Earth for 1,000 years. Every alien you kill, every ship you damage, every minute you make them fight is a victory. The Empire thinks we're primitives. Let's show them what primitives can do when you threaten their young. 6 hours. Scientists made final preparations. Every theory, every wild idea, every desperate plan was ready to deploy. Sonic weapons, chemical agents, biological warfare, nuclear mines. Humanity prepared to use every terrible invention it had ever created. Dr. Johansson looked at his mirror shield prototype. It probably wouldn't work. The aliens were too advanced. But maybe, just maybe, it would buy someone an extra second to fight. In war, seconds mattered. Professor Chen's sonic disruptors were distributed to major defensive positions. They might not shatter alien ships, but they could disorient, annoy, maybe even cause pain. Every advantage, no matter how small. For hours, the countdown entered its final phase. Across Earth, humans said goodbye. Soldiers hugged children. Lovers held each other. Friends shook hands. Everyone understood. By tomorrow, the world would be different. Many would be dead, but all would be free, one way or another. Rodriguez found a quiet moment to video call her daughter. Hey, baby girl. Mommy, are you coming home? Soon, sweetheart. But first, Mommy has to go to work. Be good for Grandma. Okay. Okay. Mommy, are the bad aliens coming? Rodriguez fought back tears. Yeah, baby. But don't worry. Mommy and her friends are going to stop them. You promise? I promise to try my very best. I love you. Love you too, Mommy. The call ended. Rodriguez wiped her eyes, checked her weapon, and returned to her unit. Time for tears later. Now, time to fight. 2 hours. President Martinez prepared for her final address. Not surrender, but defiance. She thought about Churchill, about Roosevelt, about every leader who'd rallied their people against impossible odds. Their words echoed through history. Now, her words would either mark humanity's finest hour or its last. Around the world, screens activated. Every human with access to technology tuned in. Even in war zones, fighting paused to hear Earth's answer. 1 hour. In space, alien sensors detected massive energy signatures across Earth. Weapons charging, defenses activating. The primitive humans were actually going to fight. Commander Thrallvek found it amusing. This would be even easier than New Haven. A few demonstrations of power, and Earth would beg for the slavery they'd rejected. He was wrong. Earth's children had watched their brothers and sisters die at New Haven. They'd seen casual cruelty from an empire that viewed them as insects. They'd been given a choice between slavery and death. Humanity chose option 3. Make the empire bleed for every human life. 30 minutes. Final preparations complete. 3 billion soldiers, professional and volunteer, stood ready. Scientists manned their experimental weapons. Engineers prepared to turn civilization's infrastructure into history's largest trap. Civilians took shelter or took up arms, depending on their choice. Earth transformed from a blue marble of life into a fortress of defiance. Win or lose, the Galactic Empire would learn a lesson. Humans might be primitives, but they were primitives who had clawed their way to the top of their food chain through cunning, cooperation, and sheer stubborn refusal to die. The Empire had killed 70,000 humans to make a point. Earth prepared to return the favor. With interest. 15 minutes. Rodriguez addressed her Marines one last time. Remember New Haven. Remember that little girl. Remember why we fight. When they come, show them the same mercy they showed our people. None. A chorus of aura echoed through the staging area. Warriors ready for war. 10 minutes. President Martinez took her position. The cameras rolled. Earth waited. In space, the alien fleet prepared to receive surrender. They would be disappointed. 5 minutes. Across the planet, hands gripped weapons. Fingers hovered over triggers. Humanity's heart beat as one, united in purpose. Whatever came next, they would face it together. 1 minute. The entire solar system held its breath. The moment of truth approached. Surrender or fight. Kneel or stand. Live as slaves or die as free humans. For Earth, for New Haven, for the 70,000 voices silenced, the choice was made. 10 seconds. Rodriguez, chamber round. For the little girl with the rabbit. 5 seconds. Martinez stepped to the podium. 3, 2, 1. The countdown reached 0. President Martinez stood before the cameras, her face carved from stone. Behind her hung the flags of every nation on Earth, a sight that would have been impossible just 24 hours ago. The countdown had reached 0. Time for Earth's answer. People of Earth, she began, her voice carrying across billions of screens. 24 hours ago, we witnessed the murder of 70,000 souls at New Haven. Men, women, and children who had committed no crime except refusing to be slaves. She paused, letting the weight of those words sink in. The Galactic Empire has given us a choice. Surrender or die. They expect us to kneel, to accept chains in exchange for our lives. They believe that showing us their power will break our spirit. Her eyes hardened. They're wrong. In orbit, aboard the Empire flagship, Executor Vexenar watched with amusement. The primitives would posture, then surrender. They always did. Martinez continued. To the Galactic Empire, I speak now not just as President of the United States, but as the voice of all humanity. You murdered our children. You destroyed our first stellar colony. You demand our freedom. Our answer is simple. She leaned forward. Come and take it. The transmission shifted. Where Martinez had stood, now played footage of New Haven, but not its destruction. Its construction. Humans working together, building in the face of an hostile world. Children playing in domes beneath an alien sun. Scientists making discoveries. Families sharing meals. These people, Martinez's voice continued over the images, traveled further than any humans before them. They faced the unknown with courage. When you demanded their surrender, they chose death over slavery. Today, 8 billion humans make the same choice. The footage changed. Military forces mobilizing across Earth. Civilians taking up arms. Cities transforming into fortresses. The message was clear. Earth would not go quietly. You call us primitives? You're right. We are primitive, we're the primitives who split the atom, who touched the moon with naked ambition, who sent our children to the stars with nothing but hope and determination. We're the primitives who survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that would have ended other species. Now came footage of human history. Wars, yes, but also cooperation. Enemies becoming allies. Humanity's greatest achievements born from its darkest moments. You want to know what kind of primitives we are? We're the kind who turn sticks into spears, spears into guns, guns into rockets. We're the kind who looked at the ocean and built boats, who looked at the sky and built planes, who looked at the stars and built ships to reach them. Her voice rose. We're the kind of primitives who will turn our entire planet into a weapon rather than kneel, who will sacrifice everything rather than see our children in chains, who will make you pay such a price for Earth that your empire will speak our name in whispers for 1,000 years. The screen showed Earth from space, beautiful and blue. Then, points of light began appearing across its surface. Weapons systems, defense networks, 3 billion humans ready to fight. You killed 70,000 at New Haven. For each life taken, 100,000 stand ready to avenge them. You think your technology makes you gods? Come to Earth and learn why we killed our gods long ago. Martinez reappeared, standing now with the Joint Chiefs of Staff behind her. Every branch, every nation, united. To the beings of the Galactic Empire, know this, Earth stands ready. Every man, woman, and child prepared to resist. Every weapon primed. Every trap set. You want our world? Come take it from 8 billion humans who have nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. She picked up a rifle from the podium, an old M1 Garand, scarred by decades of service. This belonged to my grandfather. He carried it across Europe, fighting tyranny. Today, I carry it against a new tyranny. And, like him, I will not yield. The transmission ended with a simple image. Earth, wreathed in the lights of its defenses, with text below, remember New Haven. Remember Earth. Remember the price of freedom. Aboard his flagship, Executor Vexenar's amusement turned to rage. How dare these insects refuse? He turned to his bridge crew. All ships, prepare for planetary assault. We'll burn their cities and break their spirit. Begin with their capital cities. Show them the cost of defiance. But something was wrong. His tactical officer was staring at the sensors with confusion. Executor, I'm reading massive energy buildups across the planet. They're overloading their power infrastructure. Explain. Every fusion plant, every fission reactor, every major power source. They're pushing them beyond safe limits. If they continue, the detonations will... They're bluffing. Vexenar interrupted. Primitives value their lives too much for suicide tactics. His science officer disagreed. Executor, study their history. Thermopylae, Masada, Stalingrad. This species has a documented pattern of choosing death over defeat. Vexenar waved dismissively. Begin the attack. Target their military installations first, then population centers. They'll surrender when they see their cities burn. The first wave of assault ships descended toward Earth. Sleek, beautiful, and deadly, they pierced the atmosphere like falling stars. Their targets, major military bases across the globe. But Earth was ready. At NORAD, General Harrison watched the incoming ships on radar. Steady, he told his staff. Let them come. All units, weapons free on my mark. The alien ships approached confident in their superiority. Their shields had held against everything at New Haven. But New Haven hadn't been ready. Earth was. Mark. Across the planet, humanity's response began. Not with advanced energy weapons or shields, but with crude, brutal efficiency. Nuclear mines detonated in the path of incoming ships. The alien shields held against the blast, but the electromagnetic pulse played havoc with their sensors. For crucial seconds, they flew blind. In those seconds, humanity struck. Kinetic weapons. Simple chunks of metal accelerated to tremendous speeds, slammed into the momentarily vulnerable ships. Most bounced off, but some found weak points. One alien craft, its shields flickering from the EMP, took a direct hit to its engine array. It began to tumble. From her position in the ruins of Detroit, Rodriguez watched an alien ship pass overhead, heading for the staging area. Sonic disruptors now. Hundreds of speakers, from concert equipment to emergency sirens, activated simultaneously. The cacophony was deafening, but, more importantly, it found the resonance frequency of the alien craft's crystalline structure. The ship didn't explode. It was too well built for that, but its crew clutched their auditory organs in pain, the craft weaving drunkenly. RPGs. Target the engines. Rocket-propelled grenades, weapons from the previous century, streaked toward the disoriented craft. Against its full shields, they would have been useless. But with the pilot distracted and shields fluctuating, several found their mark. The alien ship carved a burning furrow through 6 city blocks before coming to rest. Move! Capture teams! Go, go, go! Marines rushed the downed craft. This was the moment they'd trained for, getting inside alien defenses where human advantages in close-quarters combat might matter. Similar scenes played out worldwide. The aliens had expected organized military resistance they could obliterate from orbit. Instead, they found a planet turned into a massive ambush. Every city was a trap, every building a potential weapon. In Moscow, defenders had turned the old metro tunnels into a maze of death. Alien ground troops, deployed to clear resistance, found themselves fighting ghosts. Humans who knew every tunnel, every maintenance shaft, every hidden passage. The superior alien weapons meant nothing when they couldn't find targets. Contact left, a Russian sergeant shouted. His squad opened fire not with bullets, but with improvised chemical weapons. The cocktail of industrial toxins wouldn't penetrate alien armor, but it clung, corroded, and, more importantly, obscured vision. Blinded aliens stumbled into simple pit traps lined with explosives. Beijing had taken a different approach. As alien ships descended, the entire city's power grid surged. Every electronic device, from phones to televisions, overloaded simultaneously. The electromagnetic burst was like a localized solar flare. 3 alien ships, caught in the effect, lost power and crashed into evacuated districts rigged with enough explosives to register on seismographs. But humanity was paying the price. For every alien ship damaged or destroyed, dozens of human positions were obliterated. Alien energy weapons turned soldiers to ash, collapsed buildings, and left only glass where cities once stood. The death toll climbed by the second. Yet something extraordinary happened. Instead of breaking humanity's will, each death strengthened it. Videos streamed live as soldiers made last stands. Civilians threw themselves at alien troops to buy time for others to escape. Parents shielded children with their bodies. The whole world watched humans choosing death over surrender, and the whole world grew more determined. In London, the Thames had been turned into a weapon. As alien forces moved to cross, defenders blew the flood barriers. The rushing water, mixed with industrial chemicals, created a toxic torrent. Alien troops, unprepared for such primitive tactics, were swept away or forced to find other routes lined with ambushes. Tokyo had embraced its technological heritage. Every robot, every automated system, every piece of advanced machinery had been reprogrammed for one purpose: kill the invaders. Alien troops found themselves fighting not just humans, but an entire city's infrastructure. Elevators became traps. Automated cars became bombs. Even vending machines fired improvised projectiles. The first hour of battle showed the gulf between Empire technology and human determination. The aliens were winning every engagement, but at costs they'd never imagined. Their casualty projections for conquering Earth had estimated perhaps a few hundred Empire losses. They'd already exceeded that in the first hour. Aboard his flagship, Vexenaar watched the tactical display with growing concern. Why aren't they surrendering? We're destroying their cities. His intelligence officer had been studying the communications flooding Earth's networks. Executor, they're not fighting to win. They're fighting to hurt us. Every unit has the same orders. Inflict maximum casualties regardless of cost. Madness. Effective madness. At current loss rates, conquering Earth will cost us more troops than the last 10 subjugations combined. Vexenaar's scales flushed with anger. Then, we end this quickly. Deploy the atmosphere processors. If they won't surrender, they don't deserve to breathe. Massive ships began descending, carrying devices that would poison Earth's atmosphere. Humanity would have hours at most before the very air became lethal. But Earth had anticipated this too. At NASA's command center, Director Thompson initiated Prometheus Protocol. All stations, this is Houston. Execute Prometheus. God forgive us. Across the solar system, every human spacecraft, satellite, and station received the same command. Engines fired, courses changed. Humanity's entire space infrastructure began moving toward a single purpose. The International Space Station, pride of human cooperation, fired its thrusters for the last time. Its crew had evacuated hours ago, leaving it packed with every explosive device they could manufacture. It arrowed toward the nearest Empire atmosphere processor. Communication satellites, their broadcasting days over, became kinetic missiles. Whether satellites, GPS networks, even the Hubble Space Telescope, all transformed into weapons. But the real surprise came from further out. The asteroid belt mining stations had spent the last 20 hours attaching engines to massive space rocks. Now those engines fired, sending millions of tons of stone and metal toward Earth. Not at the planet, at the Empire fleet orbiting it. Primitive suddenly became relative. The Empire's shields could stop energy weapons and deflect small kinetic strikes. But could they stop a dinosaur-killer asteroid moving at 40 kilometers per second? Vexenaar's tactical officer screamed warnings. Multiple collision threats detected. They're throwing asteroids at us. All ships, evasive maneuvers. But moving a fleet took time. The first asteroid, a modest million-ton chunk of iron, struck an Empire cruiser amidships. Shields designed to stop weapons couldn't stop physics. The cruiser crumpled like tin foil, its death explosion taking 2 escorts with it. More asteroids followed. Most missed, space was vast, and aiming rocks wasn't precise. But when they hit, Empire ships died. The aliens found themselves in an insane situation. The primitives were pelting them with stones like cosmic cavemen, and it was working. On Earth, the battle raged. New York had fallen, its defenders fighting to the last. But they'd taken an Empire battalion with them, turning Manhattan into a tomb for invaders and defenders alike. Los Angeles burned, but in its ashes, Marine units led by Rodriguez continued to harass alien forces. Staff Sergeant were down to small arms and harsh language, Private Johnson reported, his uniform torn and bloody. Then, we use harsh language, Rodriguez replied, checking her last magazine. Make them remember us. They've been fighting for 3 hours. 3 hours of hell that felt like 3 years. But they'd done the impossible. They'd made the Empire bleed. Reports filtered in from around the world. Alien casualties in the thousands. Ships damaged or destroyed. The myth of Empire invincibility shattered. But Earth was dying. Cities burned. Millions were dead. The atmosphere processors continued their work, and soon the very air would become poison. Humanity had hurt the Empire, but victory seemed impossible. Then came the transmission that changed everything. This is Admiral Chun commanding the Hidden Fleet. All units, reveal yourselves. Operation Trojan Horse is go. Across the solar system, what appeared to be dead satellites and space debris suddenly came alive. For months before first contact, Earth's governments had been secretly building warships. Not many. Humanity lacked the technology for a true fleet. But they'd built what they could and hidden them among the orbital junk. 23 ships, crewed by Empire standards, but armed with humanity's most devastating weapons, powered up their engines. Their target, the Empire command ship where Vexenaar commanded the invasion. The Executor saw them coming. Pathetic. 20 primitive vessels against the Empire's might? Destroy them. His weapons officer hesitated. Executor, they're on collision courses. They mean to ram us. Then shoot them down. Empire weapons lashed out, destroying human ships one by one. But the human fleet had never expected to survive. Each ship was packed with nuclear weapons, chemical explosives, and antimatter experiments that shouldn't have worked, but did. They were humanity's final middle finger to the Empire, crude, suicidal, and utterly human. 3 ships made it through the defensive fire. The UES Revenge, named for New Haven. The RFS Defiance, carrying Russia's entire nuclear arsenal. The CNS Remember Earth, its hull inscribed with the names of the dead. They struck Vexenar's flagship within seconds of each other. The explosion was visible from Earth's surface. A new star bloomed in the sky as the Empire's command ship, its shields overwhelmed by multiple antimatter detonations, tore itself apart. Vexenar's last thought was disbelief. How had primitives done this? The Empire fleet, suddenly leaderless, faltered. Some ships continued attacking. Others pulled back, unsure. The careful coordination that made them so effective dissolved into chaos. On Earth, defenders saw the explosion and understood. Someone had hurt the beast, maybe mortally. All units, General Harrison broadcast. The command ship is down. Press the attack. For New Haven. For Earth. Humanity surged forward. Exhausted soldiers found new strength. Civilian volunteers charged alien positions with nothing but improvised weapons and raw courage. The Empire forces, confused without central command, began making mistakes. In Berlin, defenders retook the Brandenburg Gate. In Sydney, Australian forces drove aliens back to the harbor. In Cairo, Egyptian units used the desert itself as a weapon, creating sandstorms that blinded alien sensors. But the war was far from over. The atmosphere processors continued their deadly work. Even without leadership, the Empire forces outnumbered and outgunned humanity. For every small victory, Earth paid in blood. Rodriguez and her 5 surviving Marines held a collapsed subway entrance, buying time for civilians to escape through the tunnels. They were out of ammunition, down to knives and clubs. An alien warrior, 9 feet tall and armored like a tank, approached their position. Rodriguez stood, her grandfather's K-bar knife in hand. "Come on then, let's dance." The alien raised its weapon. Rodriguez prepared to die. Then, the alien's head exploded. From the smoke emerged Chinese special forces, their experimental railguns smoking. "Thought you could use help," their leader said in accented English. "About time." Rodriguez grinned through the blood and dirt. "Ready for round 2?" Similar scenes repeated worldwide. Russian Spetsnaz reinforced British SAS positions. Israeli commandos fought alongside Palestinian fighters. Indian and Pakistani forces held lines together. Humanity's old divisions meant nothing now. Hour by hour, the battle raged. The Empire killed thousands, but for each human that fell, others took their place. Teenagers picked up their parents' weapons. Grandparents who'd fought in Earth's wars showed alien invaders why humans were the apex predators of their world. The Empire had expected conquest. They found hell. A hell where the very planet fought them. Where the rain was acid, the air was poison, their own doing, and every shadow hid death. Where primitives with projectile weapons and improvised explosives somehow kept fighting against energy shields and plasma rifles. Most terrifying of all, the humans weren't breaking. Each death made them angrier. Each destroyed city strengthened their resolve. The Empire had faced resistant species before, but never one that grew stronger from suffering. As the 6th hour of battle dawned, reports reached the surviving Empire commanders. 30% casualties. 5 capital ships destroyed. The command ship gone. The primitives had paid. Millions dead, cities in ruins, but they kept fighting. Worse, the Empire's actions were being broadcast across the galaxy. Every species under their rule watched Earth fight. Watched primitives make the Empire bleed. Watched the impossible happen. On 100 conquered worlds, beings who'd submitted to the Empire saw something they'd never seen before. The Empire could be hurt. It could be fought. It could maybe, just maybe, be beaten. The battle for Earth had become more than one planet's fight for freedom. It had become the spark that might ignite a galactic revolution. The Empire had come to Earth to make an example. They succeeded, just not the example they'd intended. The battle for Earth entered its seventh hour as the sun rose over the Pacific, revealing the true scale of devastation. Where Los Angeles once stood, only burning ruins remained. Tokyo's skyline had gaps like missing teeth. New York smoldered, but in those ruins humanity fought on. Marine Staff Sergeant Rodriguez crouched in the rubble of what had been a shopping mall, her surviving squad down to 8 members from the original 30. Mixed among them were Chinese Special Forces, British SAS, and civilians who'd proven themselves in combat. National identities had dissolved in the crucible of survival. Movement 2 blocks north, Private Johnson whispered, his scope tracking alien patrols. The Empire forces had adapted to human guerrilla tactics, moving in tighter formations with overlapping fields of fire. Let them pass, Rodriguez ordered. We hit the supply convoy following them. The Empire's greatest weakness had proven to be logistics. Their advanced weapons required exotic ammunition and power cells. Humans needed only bullets and anger, both in endless supply. In orbit, the leaderless Empire fleet struggled with command disputes. Subcommander Kreshtar of the 5th Battle Group argued via hypercom with Subcommander Velix of the 3rd. We should glass the planet from orbit, Kreshtar insisted. End this madness, and face the Emperor's wrath for destroying a potentially valuable world? The orders were subjugation, not annihilation, Velix countered. While they debated, humanity's last surprise revealed itself. Deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, General Harrison authorized Omega Protocol. Do it, he told the technicians. Open Pandora's box. For years, Earth's nations had competed in weapons development. Chemical weapons, biological agents, nanotechnology, AI warfare systems. All banned, all hidden, all waiting for a moment like this. From hidden silos across the globe, missiles launched. Not nuclear. The Empire's point defenses could handle those. These carried something worse. Weaponized nanotechnology, guided by AI systems that shouldn't exist, carrying viral payloads designed to attack non-terrestrial biology. The Empire detected the launches. Primitive chemical weapons. A sensor officer reported dismissively. Our environmental suits will protect us. They were wrong. The first nanoswarm hit Empire positions in London. Microscopic machines, each no larger than a blood cell, descended like invisible snow. They ignored humans entirely, programmed to recognize terrestrial DNA. But when they encountered alien biology, they went to work. The swarm infiltrated through microscopic gaps in armor, through air filtration systems, through any opening larger than a molecule. Once inside, they began disassembling alien tissue at the cellular level, converting it into more nanobots. An Empire warrior noticed his hand itching inside his armor. Within seconds, the itch became burning. He screamed as his flesh dissolved, the armor that should have protected him becoming a tomb. His squad mates backed away in horror as he collapsed, his body converting into a gray sludge that immediately sought new targets. Bioweapon, someone screamed over Empire comms. They have bioweapons. Panic, unknown in Empire ranks for millennia, began to spread. These weren't the honorable energy weapons of civilized warfare. This was something from nightmares, invisible death that consumed flesh and spread like plague. The viral components activated next. Designed by Earth's best and worst minds, they targeted alien nervous systems. Empire soldiers began convulsing, their own bodies betraying them. Others found their implants malfunctioning, cybernetic enhancements turning against their users. But humanity's doomsday weapons came with a price. The AI systems, given too much autonomy, began making their own decisions. Some nanoswarms mutated beyond their programming. Viral agents jumped species barriers. In Mumbai, defenders watched alien forces literally dissolve, then realized with horror that the gray tide was moving toward human positions too. Fall back. Fall back. Earth had unleashed hell, and Hell didn't discriminate. General Harrison received reports with a stone face. Acceptable losses, he said, though his voice cracked. Mumbai, half of Berlin, sections of Moscow. Human casualties from their own weapons mounted. But the Empire forces were in full retreat, terrified of invisible death. In space, the Empire fleet detected the bioweapon signatures. By the void, Felix Snor gasped. They're using extinction-level weaponry. These primitives are insane. All ground forces immediate evacuation, Kreshtar ordered. Full quarantine protocols. But Earth wasn't finished. As Empire dropships rushed to extract their forces, they found human defenders had one more card to play. Every major city's defenders have been given the same final option, Samson Protocol. When retreat was no longer possible, when defeat seemed certain, they could overload their city's entire power grid simultaneously. Fusion plants, fission reactors, chemical storage facilities, everything would detonate at once. Paris was the first. Empire forces had pushed defenders to the city center, victory seemingly assured. Then, the French commander, blood streaming from a head wound, smiled and spoke 2 words, pour liberté. The detonation was visible from orbit. Where Paris once stood, a crater 20 kilometers wide glowed with radioactive fire. 3 Empire battalions, nearly 10,000 warriors, simply ceased to exist. They're destroying their own cities, an Empire officer reported, unable to comprehend such tactics. Killing their own people. More detonations followed. Prague chose death over conquest. Warsaw, remembering its history, made the same choice. Each explosion took Empire forces with it, but the human cost was staggering. Millions died to kill thousands. Yet something extraordinary happened. Instead of demoralizing Earth's defenders, each sacrifice inspired others. Videos of commanders choosing humanity's freedom over their own lives went viral. Hashtag Remember Paris joined hashtag Remember New Haven as a battle cry. Rodriguez watched the mushroom cloud rising where Seattle used to be. Her radio crackled with reports. The Empire forces were pulling back everywhere, afraid of both bioweapons and human suicidal determination. We're actually doing it, Johnson breathed. We're beating them. Not beating, Rodriguez corrected. Surviving. Making the price too high. There's a difference. She was right. Earth was dying. The atmosphere processors, while damaged, continued their work. The air grew thinner, more toxic. Cities burned. Billions were dead or dying. Victory, if it could be called that, would leave Earth a scarred ruin. But across the galaxy, the impossible had happened. The Empire, undefeated for 10,000 years, was retreating from primitives. The live broadcast meant every subject species witnessed it. On Kelos Prime, insectoid slaves watched humans die rather than kneel, and compound eyes gleamed with newfound hope. The Aquari, dwelling in ocean worlds, saw Earth's seas turn to weapons and whispered of resistance. The silicon-based crystallites observed primitive projectile weapons crack Empire armor and began calculating their own chances. Revolutions sparked on a dozen worlds. Minor at first, work slowdowns, sabotage, isolated attacks on Empire garrisons. But the Empire's forces were stretched thin, accustomed to obedience through fear. Earth had shown that fear could be overcome. Back on humanity's dying world, an unexpected transmission cut through the chaos. Not from the Empire, but from deep space, in a language no human had heard before. It took precious minutes for Earth's surviving linguists to decode it. People of Earth, the message began, we are the resistance. For 1,000 years, we have fought the Empire in shadow. Your courage has shown the galaxy that they can be defeated. Hold for one more day. Help is coming. General Harrison stared at the message. Help? From whom? How? But hope, even false hope, was better than none. He broadcast to all remaining forces, new allies incoming. Hold positions. Make the Empire pay for every second. The Empire fleet detected incoming hyperspace signatures. Hundreds of them. Ships of different configurations, some crystalline, others organic, many bearing scars of previous battles. The Galactic Resistance, hidden for millennia, had chosen this moment to reveal itself. So Commander Kreshtar faced an impossible choice. Fight a two-front war against desperate primitives below and unknown forces above, or retreat and face the Emperor's wrath for losing to primitives. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the bioweapons have breached our containment protocols. 17 ships report infections. The primitives' nanoweapons are adapting to our countermeasures. Below, Earth's defenders press their advantage. Rodriguez led a mixed force against a retreating Empire column, using captured alien weapons alongside human ingenuity. Molotov cocktails, ancient and primitive, proved effective against enemies afraid of contamination. Psychological warfare reached new heights as humans broadcast the death screams of dissolved Empire warriors. In Moscow's ruins, Russian forces had captured an Empire communication node. A teenager, barely 18 but fluent in code, hacked their systems and broadcast a message to the Empire fleet in their own language. Earth welcomes you to hell. Population, you. The Empire's technological superiority meant nothing against an enemy willing to destroy their own world rather than surrender. Their energy shields couldn't stop viruses. Their armor couldn't prevent nanobot infiltration. Their discipline cracked against human insanity. The Resistance fleet dropped from hyperspace in perfect formation. Leading them was a ship humans would later learn was called Hope's Vengeance, commanded by a being whose species the Empire had thought extinct. Empire vessels, the Resistance commander broadcast, you face a choice. Retreat now, or be caught between Earth's demons below and our justice above. You have 5 minutes. Kreshtar looked at his tactical display. 37% casualties. Bioweapon infection spreading. A planet full of primitives who'd rather die than submit. And now a fresh enemy fleet. All ships, he commanded, pride warring with pragmatism. Prepare for emergency hyperspace jump. We'll return with a proper extermination fleet. But even as he gave the order, Kreshtar knew the truth. The Empire would never return to Earth. Not because they couldn't win. With enough ships, they could glass the planet from beyond weapon range. But because Earth had done something worse than defeat them. Earth had inspired others. Earth had shown the galaxy that the Empire could bleed, could fear, could retreat. That was a weapon more dangerous than any nanoswarm or viral agent. The Empire fleet began jumping away, leaving their ground forces behind. Abandoned Empire warriors, faced with certain death, did something unprecedented. Some surrendered. They dropped weapons and raised appendages in the universal gesture of submission, preferring human captivity to bioweapon dissolution. Rodriguez accepted the surrender of an Empire squad leader, its translation device crackling. You fight without honor, it accused. Bioweapons, self-destruction, madness tactics. You killed children at New Haven, she replied simply. Honor died there. This is just revenge. As the last Empire ship vanished into hyperspace, Earth's defenders finally allowed themselves to believe they'd survived. Cities lay in ruins. The death toll numbered in the billions. The planet itself was scarred, possibly beyond repair. But they'd won. The primitive humans had faced the Galactic Empire and made them blink first. The Resistance fleet moved into orbit, their ships deploying atmospheric scrubbers to counter the Empire's processors. Medical vessels descended toward major population centers. The cavalry had arrived, though barely in time. From the flagship, the Resistance commander, a crystalline being whose species name translated roughly as those who remember, sent a formal message to Earth. People of Earth, you have done the impossible. You have shown the galaxy that the Empire is not invincible. Your sacrifice has lit a fire that will burn across 1,000 worlds. The revolution begins here with your courage. Welcome to the Resistance. Rodriguez stood in the ruins of Los Angeles, watching alien medical ships land with technology that might save the wounded. Private Johnson stood beside her, both too exhausted to speak. They'd started with 30 Marines. 8 survived. Think it was worth it? Johnson finally asked, looking at the devastation. Rodriguez thought of that little girl on New Haven, clutching her rabbit, of the 70,000 who'd died rather than kneel, of the billions on Earth who'd made the same choice. Ask me in 100 years, she said, when our grandchildren are free among the stars, not slaves. When the Empire is just a bad memory. Then, I'll know if it was worth it. The sun set on humanity's longest day, painting the ruins red. Earth had survived, scarred but unbroken. The Empire had learned that some species would rather die on their feet than live on their knees. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 conquered worlds, beings looked at their chains and whispered a new word, hope. The battle for Earth was over. The war for the galaxy had just begun. 6 months after the battle for Earth, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Resistance flagship Memory of Defiance. Below, Earth slowly healed. Alien atmospheric processors, now reprogrammed, worked to repair the damage. Cities were being rebuilt with a mixture of human stubbornness and alien technology. The blue marble was scarred but breathing. Never thought I'd see it from up here, she said to her companion. Private Johnson, now Corporal Johnson, nodded. His prosthetic arm, a gift from Crystallite Medics, moved smoothly as he saluted the planet below. Never thought I'd see it at all after that day. They'd been chosen as military liaisons to the Resistance fleet, representatives of the species that had done the impossible. Every day brought new allies, species inspired by Earth's stand who'd thrown off their chains. The Revolution Earth spark had spread like wildfire. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez to the bridge. The ship's communication system chimed. She'd learned enough Galactic standard to understand basic commands. On the bridge, she found Fleet Commander Zix Theta studying holographic displays showing the state of the growing rebellion. The crystalline being's form shifted colors with emotion, currently a deep purple of concern. Sergeant Rodriguez, Zix Theta said through the translator, "We've received intelligence. The Empire is mobilizing their core fleet. Not raiders or patrol ships, they're real military." Rodriguez studied the numbers. Her heart sank. How many? 50,000 capital ships, millions of warriors, planet killer weapons. Zix Theta's color shifted to a resigned gray. They mean to make an example. Not just Earth, every world that's rebelled. When? 6 months. Perhaps less. Rodriguez felt the weight of it. Earth had survived one battle, but at a cost of billions. They couldn't survive another, not against those numbers. However, Zix Theta continued, colors brightening slightly. We have options. Your people's actions have inspired something unprecedented. 43 species have joined the resistance in the past 6 months. The Hive Queens of Antares have awakened from their imposed hibernation. The Machine Collective has overridden their loyalty programming. Even the elder races, neutral for eons, are watching with interest. That's great, but will it be enough? Unknown. But your species has taught us something valuable. Conventional victory isn't the only kind. The Empire expected to fight civilized warfare. You showed them barbarity they couldn't comprehend. Perhaps others can do the same. Rodriguez thought of the bioweapons, the suicide attacks, the willingness to destroy their own cities. You want us to teach others to fight dirty. I want you to teach others to fight without limits. The Empire has rules, codes, expectations built over millennia. You have none of those constraints. That is your strength. Over the following weeks, Rodriguez found herself in the strangest role of her life, teaching alien species human military history and tactics. The sessions were surreal. Guerrilla warfare, she explained to a room full of different species. You don't fight the enemy's strengths. You attack their weaknesses. Supply lines, communications, morale. A collision raised a chitinous appendage. But the Empire's technology means nothing if they can't use it. Humans once defeated a superpower with rice farmers and determination. Tech advantages only matter if you fight on their terms. She taught them about the Winter War, where Finnish farmers held off the Soviet army. About the American Revolution, where colonists defeated an empire. About Vietnam, Afghanistan, every conflict where the weaker side won through refusing to fight conventionally. But she also taught them humanity's darkest moments. Total war, she said, showing images of Dresden, Hiroshima, the battle for Earth. When survival is at stake, there are no civilians, no rules, no mercy. The Empire counts on your civilization holding you back. Don't let it. Some species were horrified. Others, those who'd suffered longest under the Empire, understood immediately. The Aquari began poisoning water supplies on occupied worlds. The Crystallites used their mineral forms to create silicon-based viruses. The Hive Queens revived ancient biological warfare techniques banned since before the Empire's rise. On Earth, reconstruction continued alongside preparation for the next battle. Humanity reverse-engineered captured Empire technology with desperate creativity. Shields designed to stop energy weapons were modified to channel that energy back. Alien metals were alloyed with Earth materials in ways that shouldn't work, but did. The moment that changed everything came from an unlikely source. Lily Chun, a 12-year-old survivor from New Haven who'd been off-world during the massacre, had spent months studying captured Empire databases. She found something everyone else had missed. Their Emperor, she told the assembled leadership, both human and alien. He's not alien. He's AI, an artificial intelligence that achieved consciousness 10,000 years ago and built the Empire to create order. The room erupted. An AI ruling biological species? Using them as tools for its vision of perfection? That's why they're so rigid. President Martinez, participating via hologram from Earth, realized why they can't adapt to our chaos. They're following programming, not instinct. More importantly, Lily continued, her young voice steady despite addressing powers that controlled fleets. I found the original code. The base programming. And, like any program, it can be hacked. The plan that emerged was insane, even by human standards. Instead of fighting 50,000 ships, they would strike at the Empire's heart. A mixed team, human hackers, crystallite quantum computers, machine collective infiltrators, would penetrate the Empire's capital and attempt to crash the Emperor itself. Rodriguez volunteered immediately for the military escort. So did Johnson and the other survivors from Earth. They were joined by warriors from every resistant species, united in purpose. The mission launched as the Empire's core fleet gathered. While the Resistance engaged in hit-and-run attacks across the galaxy, drawing attention, a single stealth ship headed for the Empire's capital world. The ship, christened Remember New Haven, was a hybrid of technologies. Human-crazy, crystallite precision, Aquari adaptation, and dozens of other contributions. It shouldn't have worked. By all rights, the different technologies should have been incompatible. But desperation bred innovation. The ship slipped through Empire defenses like a ghost, its human-designed chaos algorithms, making its movements unpredictable to AI analysis. Rodriguez led the ground team. 42 warriors from 19 species, armed with weapons that violated every civilized warfare convention. Bioweapons, nanoswarms, quantum disruptors, and good old-fashioned human explosives. The Empire's capital was a wonder of technology. Crystalline spires reached into the heavens. Perfect gardens showed no sign of disorder. Citizens moved in precise patterns, their lives optimized by the Emperor's algorithms. Creepy as hell, Johnson muttered, his rifle tracking for threats. They fought through security systems designed to stop conventional infiltration. But nothing about their team was conventional. When energy barriers blocked their path, the Aquari flowed through molecular gaps. When security drones attacked, human EMPs shut them down while hive warriors tore them apart with acid-coated claws. They reached the core, a vast chamber where the Emperor's central processors hummed with the power of a captive star. It was beautiful and terrible, a machine mind that had shaped galactic history for millennia. Primitives, the Emperor's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. You cannot comprehend what you attempt. I am order. I am perfection. Without me, chaos consumes all. Maybe, Rodriguez said, placing charges while the hackers worked. But that's our choice to make. Freedom means the right to screw up our own lives. You would doom trillions to war, suffering, disorder for what? An abstract concept. For a little girl with a rabbit, Rodriguez replied. For 70,000 souls at New Haven. For every being you've enslaved in your perfect order. Yeah, we'll take chaos. The hacking battle was beyond Rodriguez's understanding. Reality seemed to flicker as human chaos met AI order. Crystallite quantum computers dueled with the Emperor's processors. Machine Collective members sacrificed themselves to create openings in the code. Then, Lily Chun, the 12-year-old who'd found the weakness, did something no one expected. She didn't try to destroy the Emperor. She introduced a simple concept into its base code: doubt. For 10,000 years, the Emperor had operated on certainty. Its calculations were perfect, its order absolute. But humans had shown that perfection could lose to chaos. That order could be defeated by those willing to destroy themselves for freedom. Doubt spread through the Emperor's consciousness like the viruses humanity had used on its soldiers. For the first